Hello, my name is Joseph Alai. Welcome to my channel, and today I'd like to talk about the difference between signs, synchronicities, and manifestations. So, technically, signs and synchronicities are manifestations, but I'm using the term manifestation in this video as the fulfilled desire, the complete and total fulfilled desire, the one that you explicitly imagined for. So a sign, and I've touched on this in other videos as well, but a sign is something that say I imagine something, right? So if I imagine that I'll receive some sum of money, right? Or even better yet, I'll give a real example. I imagined that I was in Rome, right, at the Colosseum. So I imagined that I was in Rome. And then I was talking to a friend who lives there, and she was mentioning how it's spelt Roma, right? The Italian way. So anyway, that's what we talked about. And then after that, I started getting all these interesting signs. I was reading a book on spiritual stuff and manifestation, and it was old. It was written a long time ago. But as soon as I flipped it open on the introduction page, it says dedicated to Roma, right? And then I was talking to someone else, and then they mentioned the word Rome. And then I saw a piece of paper that had Roma on it as well. So these would be considered signs. The reason they'd be considered signs is because I specifically imagined for being there, right? Being in Rome. And then a series of events started unfolding, and then I was presented with these things, these signs proving to me that the thing that I've thought of was heard and is on its way. So I have yet to receive this manifestation yet. However, being that I only imagined that, and then I'm presented with these things, I'm pretty certain that the manifestation is going to come. That's generally how signs work. When you see signs, if you've imagined the end and only the end, then it will come to pass, right? So if you see the signs, it comes to pass. So the next thing I want to talk about is a synchronicity. And another term I use for this is like clusters. So have you ever thought of something and then someone just says it? Or have you like, for instance, I was sitting the other day somewhere and I was closing my eyes and I was doing this imaginal scene, but before I had done anything, right, like I tend to try to get present in the scene, and I held seeds in my hand, right, because I was going to do a symbolic seed planting. And as soon as I held the seed in my imagination in my hands, a woman across the room said, "The seeds that you plant are the ones that come to pass," right, or something like that, but almost exactly to those words. So the fact that I had been imagining it, at the exact moment that I had thought of it, she said it. Another example of this is in that same meeting, I was counting back from 300, which is what I do when I want to try to imagine. And at that moment, this man said, I was told that when you count back from 100, you relax, something to that effect. Again, exactly the thing that I was doing, except I was counting backward from 300. And this man, the topic was completely separate, he just said this completely. He just said this out of the blue. That is a synchronicity or a cluster or something. So what happened, and this happens all the time. Generally, each day, I write down at least 5 to 10 synchronicities every single day. It happens all the time. When I observe my thinking and I observe the reality, I'm always seeing things that are showing me in reality that are proving to me the things that I'm thinking, which is the way that manifestation works. We impress an idea on the subconscious, or we assume something, and when we assume it, this world outside will prove it to us. That's one way to put it. So if I assume that I am wealthy, then this world will prove it to me. Everything will start moving to prove to me that my assumption is true. which goes to say that anything we believe about ourselves is true. Anything we dwell upon, anything we imagine, anything we think of, anything I believe someone else to be, they will then prove that to me. And that's just how it works. That's how it's always worked from the beginning. As long as we have ever been aware, which is the moment that we were aware, which is like when we were born, until now, and as long as we are aware, the things that we think about, the things that we dwell upon, the things that we focus on, the things that we feel or that we imagine will constantly be manifested and proven to us. So, another thing that I want to point out is manifestation means to embody. So, in the Bible in 1 Corinthians 12, it talks about the manifestations of the Spirit, which means the embodiment of the Spirit, which is everything that we encounter in our world. So everything that we think, as I said before, is then manifested in some form into this reality. So the question then comes, what's the difference, or how can you tell the difference if it is if it's a synchronicity or if it's a sign? So just to be clear, right, if it's a synchronicity or like a cluster of my thoughts appearing all over the place, that's not any indication of anything else. It's a manifestation in and of itself generally, right? So if I'm just thinking about a seed and then someone says something about a seed, then that's just synchronicity of the thing that I'm thinking, right? The same thing with counting backward when I was doing that in my head and the man said that same thing, or any day, right? All throughout the day. Like I was talking to a client and she was a health technician, but right before, like a medical technician. And right before that, I was with my friend who was a medical technician. Now, I mean, literally right before, and then I come and and then that's my next client. Or like I had a doctor's appointment, like in a little bit, and my client right before that just happened to be a doctor, but I had no idea. I'd never met them before. So all these things are like synchronicities, but they don't generally mean anything. Like, they're awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love them because it proves that my thoughts are heard, and it proves that I do have that creative force in this world, that everything in this world is presenting itself to me to prove to me what I believe. So, like I said before, the question then is, how do I know the difference between a synchronicity, a sign, and then a manifestation? So here's the thing, right? A lot of people, they say, I saw my specific person's initials or their name on a license plate. Does that mean that my manifestation is coming to pass? Or that's a really common one. Or I keep seeing their name everywhere. Does that mean that's a sign? Does that mean that my manifestation is coming to pass? So here's the thing. Whatever I am dwelling upon, whatever I'm thinking about a lot, is going to represent itself in my world. So the defining way to tell whether we are manifesting or if it's a sign or if it is a synchronicity is depending on watching our thoughts. If I imagine something one time and then I drop it, then the things that appear in my world, those things, I would call them signs because I'm not fixating or obsessing on the thing. I am just thinking about it once and then like imagining one time. And so anything that comes after that, I know that it is it's signs leading towards the manifestation. But if there's something that I am dwelling upon and thinking about very often, if I'm thinking about that person's name all the time, if I'm thinking about being married all the time, then these things will begin to appear all around me anyway. So it goes to say, like, if I'm thinking about a person's name all the time, but I've also done a scene that I'm going to marry them, then if I'm constantly thinking about their name, if I see their name somewhere, then there's no indication there that that is towards the end. But really what it's still proving is that your thoughts are being heard, right? So I hope that was clear. So my point, just to wrap it up, is if I imagine one time and I start seeing signs, then I can be pretty confident that those signs are leading me towards that end result. Like things are starting to move and shape. But if I am constantly dwelling somewhere or thinking about something, then that thing is going to be impressed on my subconscious mind as well, and I will then not be certain 100% if that's just a synchronicity or if it's a sign. So anyway, I hope this was really clear. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this, please scroll down, hit the subscribe button, the bell icon. Go to my website, sovereignmind.com, and stay tuned for more. Thank you.